Hi guys, my name is Bree James. I am the founder of Breaking Chains, the Whitney Project. Hopefully you have heard of that name. If you have not, it is in memory of my sister Whitney, who passed away in 2018 of an overdose after being clean for a couple years and having a backslide. So, as some of you may know, I am 7 years in recovery myself. This happened when I was 2 years in. And some people now just know me from Facebook. They don't remember Breaking Chains, but at one point it was a big deal. And it was one of the biggest things that I had really done with my life. Now, I started Breaking Chains out of grief. It was to help people, but I couldn't come to terms with my own emotions. So, in order to do so, I decided I would help people and share other recovering substance abusers' stories with the public that didn't maybe go to meetings or the community to hear these things. Because here's the thing, if you're not an NA, AA, any of those programs that bring us together, then you are not going to hear all the stories of people who have truly changed their lives. Because here is the thing, I have seen people get clean, right? Or find recovery from their DLC, whatever that is, and never go to a meeting in their life and do just fine. I have a friend who has quite a few years clean and has really just steadily been in counseling voluntarily and been on a program that worked for her with her doctor and her counseling sessions. I also have other friends who've done the same and been very successful with counseling programs and therapy. Now, if you ask me, meetings combined with therapy, combined with treatment, that can be a good thing. But then we have to ask ourselves, what is the treatment industry doing to help us? If we are in a treatment facility and they're not doing anything for us to become better, figure out why we actually started using in the first place, then all it's really doing is saving time, right? If somebody comes from the streets or from jail and they go to a treatment center, it's taking time and giving it back to their life. But if they're not doing anything, if they're not in a program, if they're not learning like the 12 steps, if they're not going and meeting other recovery people that are out there speaking on these topics, if they're not searching for a hobby they love or something they can make a commitment to, if they are not finding a career that could really benefit them or a way to survive in this world while loving life. That is a huge thing. You got to think, if you are using drugs, right? Your brain wants that dopamine, it wants that serotonin. We have to find ways to fill those chemicals so that we aren't constantly depressed, so we have a will to live. And sometimes that comes from being told, hey, you're really good at this, or finding things we can enjoy. A big mistake that people make is not sitting down while they're in treatment and getting to know themselves, not writing out their fears, their goals, what happened in their lives, because a lot of us started from trauma. That's what caused our addictions, was trauma. That was the gateway. Something happened to us or we didn't know how to cope, right? And that ill coping caused us to try and cope with substances, which makes sense. And here's the thing, there are people out there who may cope in different ways, and they may, have other addictions such as gambling, alcohol, shopping, like those things happen, but like, why us, right? So like when we look back at our histories, usually there's a reason, and there is genetic dispositions, there is environmental dispositions, there is, environmental factors or situational things that happen to us that cause this. But like at the end of the day, what we don't know is how much power we truly have as individuals to work through it. That is one thing that people don't understand. We have power, okay? We have to start making correct decisions so we can learn to trust ourselves. Now look, when you're first fresh out of recovery or fresh out of addiction and you're in treatment, it is really hard to think correctly, right? Everything we think is wrong. So we have to train ourselves to think differently, to find a way to think more humanly with love and compassion and not hate ourselves for the horrible things we did when we were using. Nobody cares about that anymore, okay? You have to start being the one who does not care. You have to be the one who's like, okay, I did that. That's fine. I don't do it anymore. And people will follow. Nobody's probably going to trust you right away. And if they do, that's really good. But if they don't expect them to. You have to earn trust back, okay? And this whole process comes when you're in treatment and you have a good plan and you're meeting with a doctor, you're going on the correct medication or maybe not even being on medication at all, you're learning to love yourself and be a part of your own self, right? You're learning who you are, what you want in this world, where you're going to go, and you stop needing other people. You stop being codependent. You stop needing all the appraisal from other people because look, I love it too. I like validation, but at the end of the day, you have to validate yourself to survive. You have to know, hey, I'm depressed. Maybe I should do something about it. And you need to take all of that energy inside of you to make a phone call to get the help you need. So the treatment industry itself isn't always helping with that. Not every person needs the same treatment plan. We don't all need to go to any meetings. We don't all need a 12-step program. We don't all need a treatment facility. We don't all need a rehab. We don't all need the same things. And whatever I think doesn't matter because I can't tell you what you need. I can give you some options. I can tell you what'll work for me, but all I can do is give my experience, strength, and help, right? And I have needed everything there is out there combined at different times. I have needed to stay afloat, right? And I'm not always afloat. But when you look at my lifestyle from even 4 to 5 years ago, right? When I was a couple years in, I have changed so much as a human being. And I want that to be the way other people's lives go, where they start to see this progression, this spiritual growth, this inner growth, and the ability to self-identify when something is wrong. I recently went through like a little spurt of depression, okay? And my memory was off. I couldn't think right. I started working. It was actually making it worse because I wasn't getting enough sleep. And my kids, I wasn't around them as much. And like, I really love my kids and want to be home with them. And I really wanted to work and I wanted to be in the community because, well, I've traveled the country speaking cool things, right? Like doing documentaries. I'm actually doing a really good one coming up. It's going to be really big if it goes through, like things like that, right? I've done a lot of that. And when I stopped doing that, I started to feel hopeless, like I didn't have any self-validation. But we have to learn to validate ourselves regardless. So then I started to learn to validate myself as a mother, right? As a provider, as a wife or girlfriend, as a partner, as a family member, and there's all these little parts that come together from my childhood as to why I am the way I am and how I can fix them. And I'll try to keep this one on me, but at the end of the day, I started breaking chains because I wanted to see people grow. I wanted people to know you can grow, you can change, you're going to have mess ups along the way in many different life areas, but it doesn't mean you can't get it right. You do not have to go stick another needle in your arm. You don't. You really don't. Honestly, I never missed it. I really didn't. Triggering event in the last 7 years. One triggering event, okay? And I have had drugs in my face multiple times where people try to offer them to me, try to like get me back in that life or thought it was funny or many situations. And I still didn't want to do it. Because I knew I couldn't. Because I knew in my heart I can't. And I'm not saying that's you. I'm just saying it can't be you. You can put that down and never pick it back up again. Now look, I did go to jail. I did go to rehab. I did go to long term. I did go to a halfway house. I did do 11 months of treatment. where I was away from my kid, away from my family. I did get out of the environment I was in. It was really hard to come back to this environment because sometimes we just need to move and start over. And that's okay. But at the end of the day, like, this can be your life. And the first step might be treatment, might not be. Sorry, I know I'm all over the place, but it could also be you just going into an outpatient facility, you meeting with a therapist, you having a plan with somebody who you can trust and learning to trust people, not needing somebody else to tell you how good you are, how good you look, or how great you're doing. Like, just somebody who you trust, right? Who can help you down that path. Somebody who's actually experienced and wants to help you and doesn't just want the money. And that's where we have to look back again at our treatment industry and look at these rehabs. Are they helping people? Are they truly helping people, or do they just want money? Do they just want to fill the bed? Because look, like, we like to fill the beds too at our boarding house for people in recovery, of course, but at the end of the day, we also want to help them. That's the point. The point is that nobody really makes anything off this. They're making tons of money. They are stacking. They have everything they could ever dream. While sometimes you have people who are in treatment and are not even seeing their counselor once in 3 months, who are there for 6 months, missing beds for other places because, well, it's not associated with that facility, so why would we send them there? I mean, you just see this pattern. And when I was in Florida and I was trafficked through all those facilities, I've seen some of that up here. And I'm sad about it. I know I'm smiling, but it's not funny. It's really horrible and it's disgusting because these people are not learning how to do things on their own. They're not learning how to be real people. They're not learning how to get back into society and adjust, and people in the justice system aren't learning how to reintegrate because nobody's really showing them, and a lot of these programs sometimes just don't help, and they're not meant to. So we have to look inside ourselves for the answer sometimes. And sometimes it's just getting away and starting over and doing it right and trying some meetings, trying some 12-step programs, seeing if they work for you, and just understanding that just because somebody tells you something doesn't mean it's always right. But it doesn't mean you're always right either. But you will have to learn how to become a better human, trust yourself, forgive yourself, and move forward. And if you are stuck in the life you lived in your childhood and the trauma that happened to you as an adult, you will never move forward. So whatever you need to do to let that go, figure that out first. Because that is why you were using and kept using. And if that's not why, that's good. But for most of us, that is why. And it's hard to come to terms with it. It will come back and bite you. You will be emotionally triggered by things that happen to you that come into your normal life. But you can get through it. All right, thanks, guys. I love you. Bye.